You're live.
Okay, it is 6:31 p.m. on September 10th. I will call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the August 13th, 2025 Benton Township meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the August 13th, 2025 minutes.
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Dodds? Aye. McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Passes. We have our usual reports next, starting with the financial report.
For August, we had 0 expenses in our rainy day fund, leaving our year-to-date expenses of 0, a remaining approved budget of 0, and a cash balance of $88,871.37. In our township fund, we spent $2,598.67, leaving our year-to-date expenses of $34,479.48, and a remaining approved budget of $20,520.52, and a cash balance of $303,116.93. In our township assistance fund, we had 0 expenses during the month of August, leaving our year-to-date expenses of $9,526.95, and a remaining approved budget of $15,473.05, and a cash balance of $11,931.57. In our recreation fund, we had $101.14 in expenses, leaving our year-to-date expenses of $3,045.58, and a remaining approved budget of $1,954.42, and cash available of $12,254.02. You know what, that township assistance cash balance is not correct. Do you want me to do the math right now? That's where we have to take those 2 funds
Yes, please.
and subtract. I'm just missing an integer. $110,931.57. So I was missing a 0.
Okay.
All right, so our local income tax was the usual $1,491.25, and our trust Indiana account earned $1,673.03.
All right. Does the board have any questions?
Any questions?
None.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the financial report?
I motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have the trustees report.
Okay, so after consulting with Chair Husk, we are trying out a YouTube live stream this evening. This is a free service, so we don't have to pay for a monthly Zoom account. And it will nicely set up and feed into our new website that should be live in the fall for archiving our meetings. I was contacted by a Danny Smith subdivision resident regarding an abandoned property near him, which had high vegetation, some rubbish, and 2 abandoned cars. After referring them to planning for the cars, Monroe County Solid Waste for the rubbish, we intervened on behalf of the vegetation, and the homeowner resolved it on his own and even followed up with a phone call letting us know that. So that was really nice. The Benton Township trustee and the board has been invited to go to a town hall excuse me, on how Monroe County will respond to the coming funding cuts which will be held on Tuesday, October 21st from 7 to 9 at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Bloomington. The panel will be city and county officials from Monroe County. I've heard from one person that I might be asked on the panel, but so far I have not. So community resource leaders will be invited to help understand food, housing, healthcare, safety, and education concerns during the Q&A. State reps will set the stage for funding cuts, and the audience will be able to submit questions on index cards. Panel answers will be timed. The focus is on understanding and what we will face in the immediate future, not on angry rants. So the sponsors are Indiana Nonprofits, Indiana Rural Summit, the Monroe County Democrats Club, Reverse Citizens United, and others to be determined.
All right. Does the board have any questions regarding the trustees report?
No questions.
Do I have a motion to approve the trustees report?
A motion to approve the trustees report?
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. The trustees report passes. Next up, we have the township assistance report.
Okay, I included this in my paper copy of the township trustees report. We only had one request for township assistance. It was for rent assistance, and the caller was referred to Bloomington Township where they live. That would be our 35th request for assistance, or at least a phone call to our office.
I expect no questions on that. All right, do I have a motion to approve the township assistance report?
A motion to approve the township assistance report?
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Township assistance report. Good job. Next up, we have new board business. It has been switched around from the, we do old first. Today we've got some things that precede that. So the first on the new board business is the establishment of roads and other infrastructure fund.
Would you like for me to read the said resolution?
Please.
Okay. Whereas Indiana Code 36-6-10 directs the township to establish a fund for the improvement and maintenance of the roads and infrastructure within the township's boundaries and describes the revenues that must be deposited into the fund and the purposes for which they must be expended. And whereas the Township Board of Benton Township of Monroe County is the legislative body of the township, now therefore, the Township Board of Benton Township, Monroe County hereby resolves as follows. The Township Roads and Infrastructure Fund is hereby established, subject to the restrictions and purposes described at Indiana Code 36-6-10. This resolution is duly adopted by the following vote of the members of the Benton Township Board on this 10th day of September 2025.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution to establish the Township Roads and Infrastructure Fund?
A motion, makes a motion for that.
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Motion passes. Need to sign. Next up, we have our public hearing on the capital infrastructure plan.
AKA the capital improvement plan. I've seen it referred to both ways.
Okay.
I sent the board kind of our cash flow worksheet, which is kind of where we think some of our capital expenses might go. The requirement of this law is that we are to have it for the next 3 years. I was not sure if that included 2026 or if 2026 was year 0, and that we needed to have the 3 years after that. So I just went ahead and expanded it out to the end of 2029. So I had in general that in 2025, we would be spending $190,000 for EMS equipment out of the township fund, $30,000 for the Danny Smith Park projects out of the rainy day fund, $48,500 out of the EMS equipment fund. And then for 2026, which was built into the budget, is the remodel for the Unionville Senior Center at $30,000 out of the township fund, and some township infrastructure for $20,000 out of the township fund. Now, after I had already posted our budget for next year, Danny Smith Park officials came back and said that they might not be able to fit everything in this year. So this will not be included on our budget that we will have our first hearing on for tonight, but we will need to go through this process of if they're not able to finish it all this year, of going through the additional appropriation process next year in order to accommodate those expenses. So next year I had slated $10,000 for the Danny Smith Park project, and then $1,819 to replace the computer and printer, which is almost 10 years old at this point. For 2027, I anticipate that being somewhat of a low year between our revenues and our expenses, so I don't have anything allocated at this point. But for 2028, I had $10,000 for cemetery infrastructure and $20,000 for township infrastructure out of the township fund. And then for 2029, a township infrastructure project for $13,000. So what that means is the Department of Local Government Finance provided a template that we were required to fill out and that we are required to upload by September 30th of 2025, which kind of outlines all of this. So I've included I've printed out some copies. So the first page, if you're looking at the Excel document, is the Indiana code and the instructions for the template. The second page is a summary page. And just for clarification, we are only looking at the rainy day fund and the general fund. So this does not include our recreation fund or our township assistance fund, because those are considered restricted funds, and funds going into that fund, monies going into that fund are for a specific purpose, whereas the legislatures felt that rainy day in general were a lot more broad. So we're going to go ahead and skip this and actually go to the capital improvement plan expenditures. And you have there the first column, the year of the expense. The second column is the fund. The third column is the type of capital improvement. The fourth column is the project description. And then the fifth column is the estimated project expense for the selected year. We are not held to this. We can always make changes as we need to. But this is what we need to file for this year. So now that we see kind of how we plan on spending our surplus funds, if you go to the estimate of revenues reserved for capital improvements, this was a little strange for me to fill out, but I did the best I could. Basically, we're trying to spend down our cash surpluses, and so these went under other revenues for 2026. I didn't have any capital projects for 2027, and then for 2028, I had about $30,000 of the local income tax going towards the capital projects. So now that we've kind of talked about the details, the previous pages actually auto-calculate. So you can see on the summary page, it actually shows us in a deficit, or at least everything is allocated in our general fund for the period all the way up till December 31st of 2026, so that we have no estimated funds eligible for transfer. And then if you go to the next page is our capital improvement plan for the rainy day. And this just states that we expect to have no cash balance at the end of next year because we had discussed spending it down both this year and next year. So I don't anticipate there be any funds after that. And then as far as the general fund, the estimated cash balance at the end of next year would be $42,767. However, we have $43,000 allocated to our capital improvement plan. So that's where we show that we have no available balance to transfer to the roads and infrastructure fund. So I know at the last meeting, we didn't have this template available for you to review. So I apologize if this is the first time you're seeing it, but these are all numbers that we talked about in the past, probably since April. I know we've been doing it a lot. So does anybody have any questions about our capital improvement or capital infrastructure plan?
No.
We are just required to have one.
Okay.
And also as part of this, I did have to advertise this in the local paper, which was done, and it was supposed to be done 10 days before the meeting, and that was done on August 22nd.
All right.
So would you like for me to read the capital improvement plan resolution?
So we're on that. I think I made that as a separate line item. But yes, let's move on to the resolution to adopt the capital infrastructure
My
plan.
apologies. Whereas Indiana Code 36-6-9-5 requires the township board to adopt a capital improvement plan that meets the criteria of Indiana Code 36-6-9. Whereas Indiana Code 36-6-9-5 requires the township to hold a public hearing on the proposed capital improvement plan. Now therefore, the Benton Township Board resolves that a public hearing was held to adopt a capital improvement plan as required by Indiana Code 36-6-9 for unit name Benton Township, county name Monroe County. The plan is duly adopted by the following vote of the members of the Benton Township Board on this 10th day of September 2025. And note that this is an annual process.
Okay. Does the board have any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the capital improvement plan resolution?
I motion to approve the capital.
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Motion passes. Next up under new board business, we have an additional appropriation for the rainy day fund.
Okay, so this is just to increase the rainy day fund budget by 88,500, I'm sorry, rainy day, is that what I said? Okay. To increase the rainy day fund budget from $0 to $88,500. And so this is for the Danny Smith Park project and then partially for the EMS and equipment fund. Do you want me to read the resolution?
I don't think we need that. Does the board have any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the additional appropriation for the rainy day fund in the amount of $88,500?
I motion to approve the rainy day fund,
Second.
additional appropriation.
Sorry. Second.
We'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Motion passes.
That's additional appropriations.
Cross it out. It doesn't seem like that big of an issue.
I don't know if it will matter, but this probably is an old sheet because it has Sean listed as secretaries.
Yes, so we have that on both of these.
Oh, yeah, I just noticed it on this one.
I think that just trustee, we'll have trustee Wright correct that just in the.
Okay.
I mean, that's such a nominal thing.
Yeah.
Apology, I apologize.
I mean, for just this meeting, we could have Sean do it. I think they all used to just say board member. I didn't even have the designations for the longest time. All right. Finally, under new board business, we have the additional appropriation for the township fund.
Okay, so this is to increase the township fund budget by $190,000 in order to fund the EMS capital equipment that we've discussed. So do you have any questions?
No, I think you just want the amount of 190,000. All right, does the board have any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the additional appropriation resolution for the transfer to the township general fund in the amount of 190,000?
I motion to approve the additional appropriation of $190,000.
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Motion passes.
And just of note, these are also required to be advertised at least 10 days in advance. And we're also advertised in the Herald Times on August 22nd, 2025.
All right, that concludes the new board business. And back to old board business, we have the 2025 Danny Smith Park Community Grant.
Okay, so would you like for me to read it?
Yes, actually, I think I would.
Okay, contract concerning community parks. Whereas Benton Township, Monroe County, Indiana has determined a community park is beneficial to the citizens of Benton Township, and whereas the Danny Smith Memorial Park Corporation is a corporation which provides public recreational green space and playground facilities to the residents of Benton Township, and whereas no other government entity specifically provides support for public recreational green space and playground facilities of Benton Township, whereas IC 36-6-4-8 authorizes contracts with corporations for the provision of community services in such circumstances. Therefore, Benton Township and the Danny Smith Memorial Park Corporation hereby agree as follows. 1. As of September 10th, 2025, Danny Smith Memorial Park Corporation has essential infrastructure requirements that will not be able to be met using currently available funds. These needs are critical to the overall operation and safety for both the seasonal youth sport participants, but in general for year-round visitors to the park, which includes but is not limited to field lighting replacement, $7,000, level field 2, $4,000, regrade area east of the road, parking northeast of field 1 to address erosion, $3,500, replace one light pole and repair lights on field 2, $4,000. Install lights at batting cages, $8,400. Install HVAC system at the concession stand, $5,500. The board has intentionally left some flexibility in the final amount to account for potential cost variations or upgrades. For instance, if a higher rated HVAC system is needed for long-term efficiency. 2, Benton Township shall provide funding for these expenses prior to December 31st, 2026, not to exceed $40,000 to be distributed at the time of or after procurement or services rendered. 3, all equipment and associated repairs and maintenance will be considered the property of Danny Smith Memorial Park and will be insured and maintained as such. 4, Danny Smith Memorial Park will post a sign acknowledging Benton Township's support of the park. 5, on or before March 30th, 2026 and 2027, Danny Smith Memorial Park Corporation will provide Benton Township with a report of its yearly operations and services to, including, wherever possible, statistic information about Benton Township youth. These reports will become public records when received by Benton Township. In addition, Danny Smith Memorial Park Corporation will submit the E1 report to the Indiana State Board of Accounts per IC 5-11-1-4, all of which is agreed to this 10th day of September 2025 and with the consent of the Benton Township Board.
Does the board have any questions? I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us and for the Danny Smith Park. Very proud to be doing this. Do I have a motion to approve the Danny Smith Park contract?
I motion to approve the Danny Smith contract.
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Husk? Aye. Tyler, start with this one. All right, next up, under old board business, we have the 2025 MOU for funding for the EMS equipment.
Chair House, we did receive some correspondence about this. Is that something that you would like for me to read out loud? And if so, is that before or after the contract?
Let's read it before the contract, please.
September 5th, 2025. Dear trustee Bright and board members, on behalf of the Monroe Fire Protection District, I want to thank you for your vision and support as we work together to strengthen emergency services in our community. Your willingness to partner with the district through the contribution of capital funds will provide direct and immediate improvements in life-saving care. We are reminded often of how critical, well-equipped responders are in an emergency. Earlier this summer, quick-thinking district crews saved the life of a driver whose vehicle had plunged into Lake Monroe after responders swiftly secured the vehicle, accessed the driver, and immediately initiated resuscitation efforts. In another case, a woman who had suffered a sudden cardiac arrest was revived after responders delivered rapid CPR and defibrillation. In both situations, the right people with the right tools were on the scene at the right time, and lives were saved as a result. Your support in funding cardiac monitors and CPR devices will build on these successes. Currently, not all areas of the district are equipped with the same monitors, and none have the mechanical CPR devices that deliver more effective and consistent resuscitation. Your investment matters. As demonstrated in the cases above, this life-saving equipment in the hands of our committed and well-trained staff will have an immediate and measurable impact on the lives of the people within your township. Thank you again for your continued commitment to public safety and for your invaluable partnership with the Monroe Fire Protection District. Together, we are ensuring that our community continues to benefit from the highest standard of emergency care. Respectfully, Matthew Bright, Deputy Chief, Monroe Fire Protection District.
Nice note. Thank you for reading that. All right, we have the, you want to go ahead and read the memorandum of understanding?
Memorandum of Understanding for use of Benton Township surplus funds. This Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, is entered into this blank day of blank blank by and between the Monroe Fire Protection District, the district, by its Board of Fire Trustees, and Benton, the district, by its Board of Fire Trustees, and Benton Township, Monroe County, Indiana, Benton, by a trustee and its township board, collectively the parties. Whereas Benton desires to transfer surplus funds to the district to improve emergency services within Benton and the surrounding community. Whereas the district has proposed the purchase of 4 mechanical CPR devices and 3 cardiac monitors, life-saving medical devices, and Benton is in agreement with this proposal. And whereas the parties desire to express their general understandings and intention regarding the purchase, use, and maintenance of the medical devices. Now, therefore, the parties agree as follows. 1, transfer of funds. Benton will transfer $236,394.74 for the district's purchase of the life-saving medical devices. The district will receive and maintain these funds as designated for a particular use, specifically the purchase of life-saving medical devices. 2, purchase of life-saving medical devices. The district shall purchase the life-saving medical devices as soon as practicable. The district shall be responsible for approving and placing the purchase of the life-saving medical devices. The district will own the life-saving medical devices. 3, use of life-saving medical devices. The life-saving medical devices shall be housed at the following 3 stations. Station 24, which is here in Benton Township, Station 25, which is on Northfield State Road 37, and Station 26, which is in Washington Township. Benton understands and agrees that these devices may be used on emergency runs outside of Benton Township. The district shall provide reports to Benton Township on an agreed upon frequency, but no less than quarterly, describing the frequency of use and other relevant information describing the impact of the life-saving medical devices. 4, maintenance of life-saving medical devices. The district shall be responsible for any maintenance of the life-saving medical devices consistent with the maintenance schedules and procedures it presently provides for other reasonably comparable equipment in its inventory. The district will rely on the manufacturer's recommendations on determining the timing, scope, and nature of all maintenance on life-saving medical devices. If in the event any of the life-saving medical devices shall be decommissioned due to end of its service life, become obsolete, or be destroyed to be considered a total loss, the district may dispose of the life-saving medical devices for trade, donation, sale, or scrap in its sound discretion, with any proceeds received to be applied to the acquisition of replacement equipment or other needs of the district to best serve the response area. Any replacement equipment or insurance proceeds shall belong solely to the district unless otherwise provided herein. Jake, I did ask about the lifespan, and the best guess is 10 years. 5, miscellaneous. A, subject to applicable law. This MOU and the respective rights and responsibilities of the parties shall be subject to the laws applicable to the subject matter of this MOU and to the delivery of fire protection services. The laws of the state of Indiana shall govern the interpretation, validity, and performance of the subject matter of this MOU. B, severability. If any provision of this MOU shall be held to be invalid or unenforceable by any court of competent jurisdiction, such provision shall be severed from the remainder of this MOU, and the validity and enforceability of the remaining provisions of the MOU shall not be affected. C, approval and effective date. This MOU shall be approved and effective upon the adoption by each of the parties. D, counterparts. This MOU may be executed in multiple counterparts, each of which shall be an original, and all of which shall constitute one and the same instrument. And then sign.
Were there any questions, comments? Again, another wonderful information here. All right, do I have a motion to approve the Monroe Fire Protection District MOU funding for EMS equipment?
I motion to approve the MOU funding.
Further a second.
I'll do a roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney? Huss? Aye. Motion passes.
I'll practice for that one.
I did have one more thing, I guess as part of the trustees report.
Do you want to do that now, or do you want to circle back to it at the end of the?
We can circle back.
Okay. All right, next up under old board business, we have the public hearing on the 2026 budget.
So in advance of this, the board received basically a copy of everything that's in Gateway. Our notice to taxpayers was published more than 10 days before today, which is required. So if you look at budget form 3, you can see that our official hearing notice and our adoption notice is there, along with our estimated civil max levy and our tax cap estimate. And the special notes were required to have the township assistant's phone number in there, so I put that in there. And then for our budget estimate for our general fund for 2026, I have $115,000. For township assistance, I have $20,000. And then for recreation is $6,500. Again, these changes with Danny Smith Park didn't come until after this had to be published, so hence why I couldn't make any changes to account for that. So our budget estimate is $141,500. The estimated funds to be raised through property taxes is $39,622. We will not do an excessive levy appeal. Our current tax levy is $37,378, and then we have a small percentage of difference for each one of these. So I don't know how much you want me to go into each one of these forms. We have budget form 1, which is our line item budget, which is what we have talked about in the past. Do you want me to go through this document?
Yeah, let's.
Okay. So since I had some questions in advance, our maximum advertised budget are these figures. We can't go more, hence why we can't adjust anything for Danny Smith Park for next year. We can go lower though. So the board can always go less than what we advertised, just not more. So if we need to make an adjustment, we just have to remove from one line item and put to another line item. So for our general fund, for the salary of the township board, I had $2,832. For the salary of trustee, I had $15,578. For our social security township's share, which is our employer share of taxes, I had $1,800. Office supplies, $450. Postage, $450. Operating supplies, $500. Repair and maintenance supplies, $500. Other supplies, $2,250. Now moving into service and charges, which are usually our line 3 items. Professional services of $3,000. Telephone and internet, which is $1,200. Travel expense is $150. Printing and advertising, which is $3,000. Insurance, which is $4,150. Utilities, which is $3,000. Repair and maintenance, $3,000. So that's actually doing the repair and maintenance. That's not for our repair and maintenance supplies, such as air filters and things like that. For mowing cemeteries, $4,000. Other services and charges, $18,043. Professional dues, $300. Training, $1,000. Vegetation complaints, $1,000. So here in our capital outlays for buildings, $51,500. And then property tax cap impact, it's 0 listed here, but it's calculated somewhere else differently. For township assistance, we have office supplies for $250, postage $250, legal services $1,000, travel expenses $150, housing $8,000, public utility service $7,350, funerals, burials, and cremations $2,000, other $1,000, and then for recreation, we have operating supplies $200, insurance $800, utility service $2,000, repairs and maintenance $2,000, and other services and charges for $1,500. So for our current year financial worksheet, that just kind of shows where we were as of June 30th. That's kind of a big benchmark on your income and your expenses as they calculate it out over the next year and a half. Is something that you want me to go through line by line?
I don't think we need to. Unless the board would like that.
It is also publicly available on Gateway. Okay. Budget Form 2 is our estimate of miscellaneous revenue. Now, I did learn something recently where our revenue and actually our approved budget was set at a certain amount for lit. So our budget is usually reviewed and approved in November. And then we get our 1782 notice. I was really surprised that our lit changed as of April, an April report. It went lower, and when I asked about that, it was because Monroe County had adjusted their lit rate, and it just took that long to be reflected. So this is an estimate of miscellaneous revenue. So in our general fund, we're expected to get $307 in vehicle aircraft excise tax, $2,068 in commercial vehicle excise tax, and $16,106 in local income tax. For our township assistance fund, we're expected to get $941 in vehicle aircraft excise tax, and we no longer get CVET in our different funds, and that's something else that is impacted by Senate Bill 1, I believe, when I asked. And then for our recreation fund, we have vehicle aircraft excise tax of $170. I'm sorry, $175. So this is, again, the state creates these reports and they just kind of flow into our budget documentation. One of the next sheets that I have on my list is a debt worksheet. I do like to print this out because we have no debt. And so I just like it to say that we have no debt, and so we don't have to submit it. Then the next cluster here is kind of all the math and our tax rates. So we have an advertised amount, and then an adopted amount. So a lot of the adopted amount will be different because I haven't entered those figures in because we haven't had our public hearing, which is tonight. So do you want me to go through the math on all of this? It's just generated by all of the forms that I discussed.
Do not think that's
Don't
necessary.
want to hear that, okay. So I did give you kind of a copy of what Form 4 is going to be like when we approve the budget next month. So you guys are going to go in and adopt a budget, and then it's going to give a levy. And again, it's just real high level overview of how much in each of that is for, and then you'll have an opportunity to select aye, nay, or abstain and sign it.
Okay.
And this just gets submitted to the state. So the only other thing that we needed to discuss from our last time was in regards to the salaries. So I don't know if you guys want to have a discussion on what that should be for next year.
Want to have any discussion on it? We're looking at the extra page that was handed out to us today.
Yeah, so this is just what we had last year. And I know we talked about it at length at the last meeting, so if people are interested in watching that, they can watch the video from our very long meeting last month.
This one's shaping up to be shorter.
So to clarify, we no longer have a township clerk position. And we've talked about deputy trustee, but Chair Husk seems amenable into covering that for no additional. So I removed that from the budget line, and then we no longer have a township assistant investigator either. So our only two lines for our township form 17 would be for the trustee and board.
Well, does the board have any discussion on this? If not, I would like to have the floor for a minute.
All yours.
I know that we've talked about this at length in the last meeting and previous meetings as well. You know, not this board, but myself included, but previous boards, as well as Trustee Bright, decided to forego any increases in salary and actually backdated, I think, to the lowest amount that we could at the time. Whereas other townships didn't necessarily heed that concern through no fault of their own, mind you. But I would like to propose a 8% increase in the trustee salary and in the township board salaries. For us, I think it's a nominal increase, but I think for the trustee, it would represent a decent increase.
Do we know what that looks like as far as dollar amount?
Yeah, so 8% of $15,575 is $1,246 for the year. And then for the board, that would be $75.52 for the year.
What, quarterly, I think it is?
Yes.
So that would be less than $20.
Yeah, $18.88 for the quarter.
So again, I think it's nominal, but it represents, you know, we may not be here on this board for, you know, next time around. And they can make the decision on what they want to do too, but I don't want to set them under an expectation that other townships currently have. I'm happy to hear any discussion on it.
And asking about the per paycheck difference would be $47.92 for the trustee, and that would be before taxes.
I think it's a reasonable request.
Yeah, I certainly don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think that I'll support it just because I just don't want to vote a pay raise for myself. Fundamentally, not that I don't think that anyone here doesn't deserve one, because I think it is a lot more work than people would realize.
And I respect that, but I also think that the one thing to consider too is that it's not just for us, it's for, the future boards as well, and being mindful of the responsibilities that they will have, and maybe even stronger than our responsibilities are currently. So I don't want to, I want to make sure that we put them want to make sure that the position is aptly or correctly, or however you want to word it, compensated.
Sure, and I also think that is very important as well.
All right, so I guess then, if we're somewhat in agreement, I guess, that, at least agreement with putting it into the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will just adjust these figures in the adopted column and probably take that out of the other services and charges, which we have plenty of room for.
Is that something that we could even revisit next year again? Because I could definitely see a scenario where once we know a better financial picture too, we could even go back to that, starting with the next board's term or something like that.
So this is quite an interesting question, and I always ask about it at the State Board of Accounts, and I can get the Indiana code, but so you can always, so you can't change your salary in the year that you want to do it. It has to be as part of this budget process. But also each board member is entitled to receive no less than the start of the previous term.
Yeah, I'm saying like a raise going into the next term, so not going down, but going up.
Yeah, so this is an annual process.
Yeah. And so this would take place for us for the last year of our tenure then. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that it's a good idea. I don't think I want to I know that everybody struggles out there, so I don't want to, even though I agree that it's a nominal change, I think it just, at my core, it's probably no for me.
One thing I think is interesting, why they say that each board is entitled to no more than, or no less than the previous board, is because if you get outvoted, you could say, well, I'll show you, and your salary is 25 cents. And that's to prevent that kind of thing.
Sure. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, and I'd also like to point out that we haven't been availing ourselves of a township clerk, which is $17.21 an hour. So in reality, for the raises for the board members themselves, we're looking at potentially 4 hours worth of work that would have been done by the clerk per quarter. 3 hours per quarter. So a total of 12 hours that we're cutting out. And I think that we've actually cut out probably more than that by, even just my efforts over the last when Trustee Bright is gone. So I consider it a very nominal increase. I do respect your opinion. And I would hope that you would reflect on it and maybe change your mind. But obviously, when it comes to the vote, it is your prerogative.
Yeah, I would say one last time, just for the record, that I think that both Chair Husk and the Trustee Bright work very hard, harder than most people realize. So I definitely don't think it's a bad thing to do. I think I just want to make that clear. I don't think anybody's just not deserving of it.
Totally understandable.
Well, and I've always said I don't do it for the money, right? It's about the service, but I also wanted to say that I appreciate the consideration.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this or anything else?
Budget motion.
Correct. Right. Hearing none, I think that concludes old board business. We have no public comment.
Yeah, sure, Husk.
Yeah.
If I may, I just wanted to mention that I had sent a week or so ago some reports that I found on Gateway that I thought would be of interest. So in the budget section, the cash balance as a percent of budgets, and I narrowed that down to townships for 2025, it compares our cash on hand to our budget. And of course, we have like almost $500,000 of cash that we're sitting on compared to our $85,000 total budget. That makes us 15th highest out of 177 units detailed on this report. So again, thinking about, if roads and highways, their funding is being cut, I think that they're just looking for pots of money sitting around. And even if you look at December 31st, 2024 balances, and to be honest, I didn't have a lot of time to really go into detail with these things, but the year-end balance for 2024 for Monroe County townships were over $12 million. And so again, thinking about where are pots of money that are just sitting there with nothing to do, I can see how these figures could rightfully or wrongfully point people. There were some rural townships. I was quite surprised at how much cash they had on hand, even post consolidation into the fire district. So I'd be really interested to see what these folks have in mind for their capital improvement plan. And then we have expenditures per capita, which I thought was really, really interesting. So I sorted it from highest to lowest, and then from lowest above. Let me see. And then I also presented just a couple of news articles of other townships that are kind of doing the same thing we are and struggling with it. So if you look at the highest expenses per capita and then compare it to the revenue per capita, I thought that was really, really interesting. So the first one is Gibson County out of Wabash Township. Oh, the census is 30 and their 2010 population. So their budget was $73,344. So they were spending $2,444 per person and only getting $1,256.27 in revenue. So I thought that was kind of interesting just to kind of take a chunk down. And then going to the lowest, I believe the lowest, there's two of them that have zero, Jackson Township in Hamilton County and Wayne Township in Greene County. Actually, that's really interesting. So they don't have any expenses and they're bringing in, $29.75 or $84.03 per person. So here in Benton Township, we had our expenses per person are $25.31 and our income is $19.05 per person. And I thought that was really interesting compared to the other townships. So we are the lowest expenses per person. If you look at that 1, 2, 3rd column of numbers, and then that last column of numbers is income per person. And we are the second lowest income per person at $19.05. So anyway, numbers can kind of tell different stories depending on how you look at it. But I just thought it was interesting, especially compared to the other townships in Monroe County.
Yeah, thank you for putting that together. It's kind of eye-opening on some of those. Board, have any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we have no public comment. It is 7:24 p.m. on September 10th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Roll call. Dodds?
Aye.
McInerney?
Aye.
Huss? Aye. Motion approves. We are adjourned. I don't remember how to turn it off.
It says end stream.
Oh, nice.